The Collectors. Chapter 1. The girl with the purple gloves was dead. Remi had known it was going to happen. Somehow, he always knew. 3 weeks ago, he had been walking home after school when she raced by, shoving her scooter up the small incline. The flash of her bright purple gloves is what caught his attention that day. He watched her for a few seconds. She looked about 6 or 7, and he couldn't help but laugh when he saw how she scrunched up her face as she tried to keep up with a couple of boys. He had recognized one of them as a kid in his 3rd period, and saw enough resemblance between the 3 of them to assume they were siblings. Those same boys were there, standing directly across the road from him. Blood gathered at the curb near where they stood on the sidewalk. A puddle of it sat just inches from their feet, a long thread of crimson dragging from its center to where a mangled scooter rested atop the double yellow lines meant to divide street traffic. The scooter used to be blue, but was now coated in a sticky red that shone eerily in the sunshine. A man in uniform stood before them, asking questions. It seemed like they were answering, but both of their gazes were focused on the scooter in the middle of the street. Both boys had blood on their hands. The boy from Remi's class wiped his hands repeatedly down his pant legs in a way that seemed unconscious. Remi had avoided looking at them until now, knowing that he would see the shimmering waif hovering around them. And there it was. What had once been the girl with the purple gloves and was now just not. The being was not translucent, as he knew many people would expect it to be. Rather, its skin shimmered with a rainbow of different colors, as though it had just gotten a little too excited with the tub of glitter during arts and crafts. He knew it wasn't that, though. Not something so easily washed away. He would be able to see the waif even on a moonless, starless night. He watched as the once girl jumped and stomped and waved, trying to get the boys' attention as they stood still on the curb. After a while, the energy seemed to just sap out of the creature, and it sat on the curb beside the oldest boy, pulling its knees into its chest and staring at the street. Remi watched as its eyes caught on the scooter still lying mangled in its center. The thing's head shot back up, and the waif slowly stood, making its way over to the broken toy. It stood confused for a moment before it reached out a hand to lift the scooter. Its gloved fingers passed right through the aluminum handlebar. The thing jumped back, clutching its hand to its chest and looking fearfully back across the road at its once brothers, calling something out that Remi did not hear. It took a step towards the boys once again, but then hesitated, gaze taking in the stopped cars, the police officers, ambulance, and the crumpled scooter one more time before finally seeing Remi. Without forethought, Remi beckoned it over with a small wave of his hand. It came. They always came when he called them.
"Can you help me?"
It asked. Though its mouth moved, the sound did not come from in front of him where it stood. Instead, its voice sounded like an echo in his head. Remi stared at the being, remembering the first day he had saw her 3 weeks before as she pushed her scooter after her brothers, who teasingly pretended to leave her behind. That day, with her hair blown back by the breeze, he had been able to see the glowing white veins of death peeking out of the collar of her sweater and crawling up her neck. She had been marked for this day then. Now, death told fully on her. The veins covered both sides of her face, converging at the corners of each eye. He had not been able to see the girl's eye color when she was still alive, but whatever pigment had stained them then was now long gone, just as the girl was gone. Now its eyes blazed white as though lit from lamps from within.
"Hey!"
The thing pulled on his sleeve. He looked at it in surprise. He was always surprised when the dead touched him. It wasn't something he knew how to get used to. They couldn't touch anything else, but that somehow didn't apply to him. "Yeah?" he answered the once girl.
"My brothers are ignoring me. Can you tell them to stop? I want to go home."
Remi smiled sadly. "I'll take you home," he told it. "I know the way." Remi turned and walked away from the scene with the police and the boys and the blood and the scooter.
"Hold on! I'm not supposed to go with strangers,"
it shouted at his back. Remi didn't stop, nor did he respond. They always followed him, even when he didn't want them to. The once girl trotted up beside him a few seconds later.
But I live that way.
It said, pointing in the opposite direction. Not anymore, he said. And then he didn't say anything for a while more.